apartment on campus. So you always have those different options, but I would definitely say freshman year definitely living on campus.
For me, I started off on campus. I think it was mandatory for us in freshman year to live on campus. But I quickly realized that I did not want to have somebody in my room. I moved into a freshman dorm, but the person that was my roommate had actually been there a whole year before and wasn't able to go to the next dorm, so they were still classified as a freshman even though it was their sophomore year, so they were in my room. Yeah, yes. And I'm the oldest of 3 girls, but I always had my own room, so I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know how to share that well. I mean, I have siblings, but I didn't know how to share my personal space. And so having someone eating my food when I was gone and borrowing, now one of my soap bars is gone. That didn't work out, and you don't have control over how people are when you get there. But it is an experience to go through because some people meet their freshman year roommate and that's their best friend for the rest of their life, so it can go either way. That prompted me to look off campus. I moved off campus. Word of advice, if both of you and whoever lives off campus don't have a car, it's not gonna be a great time because they're gonna be depending on you to get them back and forth, vice versa. So I wouldn't recommend moving off campus if you don't have transportation. Also, you have to make sure that you both can financially maintain the place. I had great support from my family, but I did have a roommate at one point that didn't. And so rent was late and things like that. And if your name is on the lease, that's your credit. That's your report. Even though you're young, it's gonna follow you. So just be mindful if you're gonna move off campus, pick people that are reliable, pick people that have some of the things that you have so that you don't have to go into it with worries that you shouldn't have.
So I stayed on campus, but I actually went into school playing volleyball. So one of my freshman roommates was someone that was on the volleyball team. So that was kind of nice because we were both there at the same time. We both played the sport together. And as going to a PWI, we had a bridge program. And that was like a 4-week intensive program that happened over the summer before that freshman year. And I know that some of the people that were in that program were then able to request them to live with. So like they were able to choose their roommate their freshman year. So like if there are opportunities or things that you can go into the school with, you do have an opportunity to like meet people and then, hey, I want them as my roommate. So I know that lucked up for me. And then my sophomore through senior year, I got to choose my roommate, so I wasn't with anybody that I didn't know, which was nice, but I was on campus all 4 years.
The more that you're on campus is the more that you're going to squeeze out of your experience of that 4 years, in my opinion. So living off campus my junior and senior year, I felt kind of removed. I felt isolated a little bit. I'm an introvert anyway, so I like it. But being on campus, the purpose of you being in school at college is not necessarily to learn these things, these biology, chemistry. It is for you to become an adult in a controlled environment and learning how to network with people, learning how to deal with people, learning how to do those things so that when you finish those 4 years, you can go out into the real world and be an adult that knows how to deal with stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I stayed on campus. At first, I don't know what I did because I had a lot going on. I was at boyfriend house, wherever I was everywhere. But the point is, it's a mindset. It's not gonna be perfect. I hated going into the bathroom and the showers, and it's one shower on the floor, so everyone on the floor you're sharing. Things could be a lot worse. So it's a mindset thing. You have to make the best out of the experience. It's not going to be perfect, right? A lot of us want to be grown. You go out and get your own place. All right, you got to pay for it, and then you got to drive back to school. Again, it needles away at your experience, right? So I think it looks glamorous. I have my own place, but just keep in mind there's other ways to live the life. So looking back, I would just say it looks glamorous, but keep in mind you are in a place where you have access to food, you have heat, hopefully. You have things that you need and you don't have to worry about the extra. So just keep in mind, have that game plan, like the other panelists said. It's a mindset. If you have an immature mindset, you may not reap the full benefits of your experience. So just keep that in mind.
I love that they're saying keep in mind like your mindset, because my senior year I had 3 other roommates who lived in a town room, and boy, let me tell you, I hated every single bit of it. I learned that I could me and living with other people just get along because I like my space, I want it. Like, but from all of that, I've learned a lot of life experiences like communication, conflict resolution. Because you learn how to communicate with other people, like in a setting you might not agree with certain things that one individual might do, or they might not know how to wash the dishes after they use it. You know, those little things that you have to learn how to, work around.
So if you went to a PWI, how was that experience? Did you feel the community? From, like, word this correctly, did you feel the sense of community with other students of color at your school?
Yeah, I'm going to say, can we give the definition?
PWI, predominantly white institution, as opposed to a HBCU, historically black colleges or universities, which all of these students should know what those two terms are, because we use them often. So if you did attend the PWI, how did you feel about the experiences and the sense of community with other students who may have looked like you?
So I did go to the PWI. I went to St. Francis University. It's in middle of nowhere, PA. I went in, honestly, I sometimes think about it, and I ran track. So I went on a track scholarship. And so I was lucky enough that, you can say it, but a lot of the individuals that were on the track team were African American, black, and that was with a lot of the sports teams. So I think our camaraderie is the fact that we were all athletic. Sometimes when it came to like the athletic programs, the academic programs and things like that, it was not the same. I went into healthcare, and a lot, I don't know why, but like a lot of the black students just didn't go into that field, it was a lot more like business and things like that. But I can say it kind of sometimes left me feeling like left out. So I did actually form the Black Student Union at my university just because I feel like we were missing that aspect of our culture and having other people understand our just who we are, and our just us. I don't know how to explain it, but just us. And I feel like that went a long way because it was also branching out into other nationalities and just learning about different cultures. But I do think that it is very important to educate someone when you do go to PWI, because sometimes it can feel a little, you might not feel like a part of something. You might feel as though I'm being left out of certain situations or I'm being looked at differently, but it's all about the education aspect.
So I also went to a PWI, also in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, called Collegeville. One of the things that I know, having gone to the PWI that I went to, we had, as I mentioned earlier, this bridge program. So they actually invited all the minorities could sign up to go for 4 weeks over the summer to do an intensive. They took classes. They met with all of the other Black students that went to Ursinus. And they were able to really form a bond during that 4 weeks. Unfortunately, because the program was very intensive, I was unable to attend because I was going to miss a week, and they were like, "You're going to miss too much work." But I did still show up during that time, just so I can also meet the other Black folks that was going to be coming to school with me. And we did have a BSU, so I know we were always there. We were always hanging out. I went to a very small PWI, so all the Black people knew each other. We all hung out. We had a big sister, little sister program that we also formed, so I was able to get acclimated into the school culture through that program as well. And then we also brought things. We had the opportunity to bring a lot of the things that we felt were missing. So my freshman year, one of the juniors wanted to create a step team, so we all got together and created a step team. And so we were able to really bring a lot of that culture that we felt was missing at the school. And that step team is still in existence to today. So that was some of the things that I feel like I was missing out on in my culture.
I wanted to know if any of them were interested in going to a PWI.
If you are interested in going to a PWI, can you raise your hand?
Not undecided.
No question. If you are,
Yeah.
I just really
I see some.
because because no, we know we have conversations. I know a lot of the students are interested in like George Mason. They attended a college school yesterday, George Mason, and some of them told me they really enjoyed it. Towson, like Salisbury, we went there. Some students said that they really liked that too. So this is our first year of actually being able to go on college tours because of the pandemic. The first our seniors were freshmen when the pandemic hit. So many of them were actually able to go to the University of Maryland. We went there in like October of their freshman year, 9th grade. But other than that, we have not been able to go on campus until this year.
Yeah.
So we've been visiting a lot of schools. Miss Sanders, she's our college and career prep 2 and our upper academy for 11th and 12th grade college and career counselor. So she also coordinates our tours. So we've been touring, and they have been impressed with. I know Towson and Marymount was good too. That was I went with the 10th graders, but that was a really nice. So there are some students who are
been exposed. Okay, good. That's why I saw a few hands come up because I want you all to know wherever you want to go is not the problem, right? And actually, you all are going to be uniquely positioned because those of you at the predominantly white institution, you're going to be even more prepared for corporate America. I'm gonna just throw it out there, and I'm the head of diversity. So you all are going to learn how to navigate a lot of situations. I am the only black person in predominantly all of my meetings, so I got to bring the HBCU to them, right? So I don't want you all to feel like you have to go that route, but I think it's about when you're there, you will have to build that community because statistically, if you're a black or brown person, if you go to a PWI, you're more likely not to finish, and if you go to a HBCU. So what that means is whatever they're lacking, don't give up, don't drop out, right? Maybe you may have to transfer, you may have to create that community there, but just stick with it. Please stick with it because the statistics are going lower and lower for black and brown people that go that way. But just know there's no right way to go. This was for you and make the best of it. So I just don't want anyone to feel, ashamed or anything if they didn't want to go to HBCU. I didn't want to go to HBCU. I went there. I had a different plan. God had something else. So just make the most out of it because these different organizations do have things that you have to navigate a little bit different.
So I was the person that went through PWI as well for my undergrad. And I was also that person on my college tours. I wasn't ashamed to ask what resources offer back then. I wanted to know what was available for me when I got here. I wanted to, if it was 20, campus leads in front of me, I was probably going to take the one that they assigned to me, and then during lunchtime, I'm going to go talk to the black people because I want to know how's your experience. I'm going to exchange that email address to kind of figure out what truly happens when it's not tour day, right? Because they can glam your campus up for tour day, right? But I want to know what is the culture really like when it's not tour day. And so I think while you all are taking these tours, do not be afraid or ashamed or shy to ask the serious and real questions.
Can I add to that? Yesterday we went to George Mason, which is a beautiful campus, and one of my students that graduated from Duke, she was a junior there. She walked them around and had a great time, and she's actually the Black Student Union president. So she was really hands-on and told them like, this is what it is, this is what it ain't, in the sense of how it is being a black student, like you said, carving out that path for the ones behind you. And she did say they have 36,000 students, and it's only 4,000 are considered minorities in a sense. And that's a big thing, understanding, like you said. So maybe just talk more about, I guess, being part of that black community and finding your groups. I think that's a lot of their fears. I hear all the time. It's like the pressure of going to HBCU because I am a minority or black and these versus, but I don't want to. I don't want that experience. So can you kind of talk about mine?
I will say, my freshman year at UNC Charlotte, if I remember the stats correctly, it was 25,000 students at UNC Charlotte this year, and only 10% were black. So if you do the math, it's about 2,500 out of 25,000 students that were black. And so my goal was really just to find the black students, find those resources. And I actually, one of the things that really catapulted my journey at UNC Charlotte was when I became an orientation counselor, because when we had new people coming in my sophomore, or it was my sophomore year, their freshman year, they got to see a black male on the orientation staff. So we had 25 counselors, maybe 5 of us were black. But the fact that they got to see that representation was something that I was big on. And then that also led to me being we actually had like a whole like gala, and I was actually crowned Mr. Black Student Union for UNC Charlotte. And so I think like those platforms that you think might be small at that time, they really do set the foundation for like for who you are, what your platform can be. You might think this is just 4 years of college, but I promise you, getting those types of titles and positions will really last throughout your lifetime. So even when I go home now for homecoming, someone will always say, Mr. BSU or Mr. whatever, like these titles will last with you for a lifetime.
Thank you.
How was your campus involvement? Did you join any organizations? How'd that go? For you, how were your organizations? If you are a part of anything, like how was that for you?
I joined all of the organizations that laddered up to my majors. I'm a communications major, so PRSA, the National Association of Black Journalists. But then I also was a campus tour guide. I was also an orientation leader. So I joined all these different clubs because I'm naturally an introvert. I know some of y'all probably know Miss Holmes, my twin. She's very all over the place. I do not like to speak to a lot of people. So I need to like train myself on how to do stuff like that. So it was joining those different organizations so I can meet new people and be spread my wings. Because she didn't go to college, we went to different colleges and make my own friends. So that helped me, and that made me a more robust student, and also made me a more robust adult when I graduated as well. No, girl, we didn't see each other.
So my experience was, I had a great time as far as being active and joining organizations. The first group I joined was the DC Metro Pre-Alumni. Virginia State had a pre-alumni for kind of all major cities and areas, and so that's another easy way to find not just people that look like you, but people that are literally from the same areas, you can know the blocks and certain landmarks and things like that. Started there, I joined the NAACP. I can say for HBCUs, most HBCUs will probably have a branch or a club associated with that. That was great as far as community engagement and just learning more about who I was as a Black person. And then we had a modeling group at Virginia State. I joined that group. I was in it for a year, but I didn't like some of the politics in the group. I felt like it was, people were being added to that group based off of popularity and not based off of skill set. And that wasn't something I liked. So I actually branched off and started my own organization my sophomore year. And for me, that was a big deal because I got to create a legacy of my own. There were other activities I was looking to do. I did try for cheerleading twice. I made it to the front club. But wasn't in my destiny. And I'm glad because to be honest, if I would have made any of those other groups, I wouldn't have been able to be so dedicated to being a founder of the group that I had. So definitely encourage you to go and join. But if you don't see something you like, make your own thing.
Remember what we told you, you're trying to squeeze out every ounce that you can get from networking and meeting people during those 4 years. The organizations that you're able to join, you're going to know those people for the rest of your life, honestly. They're going to become your friends, they're going to become your family, they're going to become your people that you go to, hey, jobs and stuff like that. So the organizations that you go to, just make sure you join them. It's all part of the experience. And that's why you're there. That's why you're paying $8,000, $30,000, $60,000 a year. And there to meet people and build those connections and form those connections at that stage later on in life.
And not just your peers, also your professors, right? Because sometimes I circle back with them to see who they know. Who I can get a meeting with. Just not your peers, professors.
Most colleges have an organization where they look for like, they call them ambassadors to kind of go to the, like whenever the circuit of the college is having, they do like a banquet or a dinner with donors and things like that. I was a part of, we call it student alumni network. I'm not sure what they're called in other schools, but perfect opportunity to really get that professional networking side in because you will get the opportunity to kind of go behind the scenes and see what the president of the college or university does behind the scenes. You get to meet those donors, you get to, eat those fancy dinners as a college student that, you might not be able to eat every day. So take that into consideration as well. Like have organizations that give you that social side for your age and you're young, enjoy college. but also have those organizations that are going to give you that networking opportunity as well.
Yeah, some of those groups, I know you mentioned, mass comm and being able to mass comm groups, I was in communications as well. And I didn't join those groups, but I wanted to bring some attention back to that. If you are in school for a major and then you do things on the side already, joining those groups are the best way for you to get exposure. So for example, you're in school, you're majoring in communications, you join the communication group, but you've been DJing at the family reunions, and that's something you do at the little get-togethers on the 3rd floor, right? But if you go and join these groups, next time they have homecoming, University Bazaar, you may get selected to be the DJ in front of the entire school and in front of alumni. We may come back to school for homecoming and see you DJ, like, you know what? I think I want to give this young person a shot to come and do XYZ event, and now you're getting paid. So it really can open up doors for the other things you do. If there's a program around, it was called TAM. I think it was for people that were into fashion. You know, so you're making clothes for every fashion show. You know, and now you can get, if you join TAM or join a social group that's associated with that, maybe you get called for the big homecoming event, and now you can say you've done a whole line in the university fashion show. You've got pictures because the photographer's there. All these things are going to build towards your portfolio. So you can really take advantage of showing people other things that you bring to the table by joining some of these groups.
Yeah, first of all, find your hustle. Whatever your hustle is, hustle up out of that dorm room legally. If you know how to prepare, no excuse why y'all shouldn't have 3 heads that week. Because you're going to be a broke college student and you may not be able to call home for money. It's just going to be something you want to do. Find a legal hustle, something y'all good at doing, and profit off of it and make money for it. Secondly, with the organizations, you're building your resume. That's what you're doing. You're building your resume, so then when you get an internship, y'all all need to get internships every summer. Because then you're building your resume for after you graduate, right? And so you need to have that hustle in you. You gotta have that's what we do at HBCUs. You gotta have that hustle in you to be able to make the most out of it, because life is not easy to Black and brown people. So I already put that out there. So get in front of it, right? I was a part of a lot of organizations. My favorite was cheerleader. I was also Miss Virginia State University. And so again, school is like that little mini town for y'all. It's that community. So just make the most of it. But just think of it. I didn't see it at the time, but looking back, you're literally building your resume. That's all you're really doing, and you're leveraging it to your advantage. But one thing, Javon, they got to get that hustle on while they're in school. Whether it's DJing, doing the weed, whatever we're doing, cleaning.
Weave. So I know some students, and I know we have some people who are a part of Greek organizations. So if you are, can you share with them your Greek affiliation and a little bit about like how to go about expressing interest in things, do's and don'ts, because we do have students who talk to us often about fraternities and sororities.
I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, which Javon is too.
How did you go about it? How did you
you'll find out who those people are on campus, and discreetly you would let them know that you're interested a little bit. They'll start keeping their eye on you. It's kind of like discreet is like, I see them walking down the hallway. One day I just see them by themselves in the library over there. I'm going to try and talk to them when nobody else sees me talking to them.
What's that?
Discreet's right now in the cafeteria, right? And Ron walks in with his cap, hey,
your eyes open, and like on that billboard that where you're going into the cafeteria, I would just look. If I saw that there was a program happening on December 15th, I would go back to my room and make a note, right? And on December 15th at 7:06 p.m., I would just show up to the event. I would sit wherever I felt comfortable sitting. When the event was over, they're going to be at the door, you shake their hand, you say, nice to meet you, they're going to remember you because they make you sign in, and we actually do look at the sign-in sheet. That's how we start to build those relationships on a more discreet level, right? And from that point on, I think I played basketball a lot at the time, so some of them play basketball. And so after the basketball game, they'll be like, yo, you want to go, grab a bite to eat real quick or something like that, and then you just sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with person A, person B, or person B. So there's like ways that you maneuver.
bring deltas to the campus. So we were just trying to get ourselves aligned. So just know that if it's not there, it still is, there's still opportunities for you to either bring it to that campus. And there's also other sororities and fraternities outside of the Divine Nine that you could also research if you are interested in still joining, but you might not be aligned with anything in the Divine Nine.
I want to follow up question to some things I've heard. So if I'm interested, I heard you say that I should probably go to some of the events that the organization puts on, right? So, because I want to impress y'all, should I wear y'all's colors to that event? What should I wear?
Never, ever.
Why shouldn't I wear y'all's colors to the event?
First, so first, why you keep it, as I said before, it's a very competitive process. So literally, they're looking for process elimination. They don't really know you that well, right? They got like an hour to look through all your applications, to know you, whatever. So they're looking for just things they feel like you should know. So if I want to be AKA, I'm not showing up with a pink shirt or at an event because people may think I'm already an AKA. So there's a variety of reasons in which why you wouldn't want to do that, and like just pink as an example. But just always keep in mind that it is a very competitive process. So they literally have, and it can only take for so many people. You talk about anywhere from 5 to 20 girls. It could be 5,000 of y'all at the entrance meeting. So just those little things that will give you the competitive advantage. Wearing the colors is just like, hey, we're all at the event in the colors. There could be some confusion of who's the AKA, who's not in the AKA event. So that's another way to think of it from like a common sense practice.
But I would say, because it is a competitive process, it is a privilege to wear the colors that I pledge to, the colors that she pledged to, the colors that Bill pledged to as well. And so it is for you to walk into an interest meeting alpha with my colors on. I don't think you truly understand what it takes, what it's about, why those colors were chosen to wear those colors.
Did you all have to do an internship for your major? And if so, how did that go? Because our students here in 11th grade, they all take an internship class. So did you have an internship for college?
To get into college? Or
No, while you were in your college, within your major, did you have to do some field work or internship or anything like that?
Yeah, I majored in communication, but I was focused on film. I wanted to be a TV producer. So I had to do an internship. But what I did was, I wasn't really confident in myself to like go to like a legit company that had TV production going on. So I actually went back and interned at my high school. My high school had a TV production course when I was in school, which is how I got interested in film. And so I went back to that school, worked under my teacher, and helped mentor a group of young women that were going through the TV production program.
Yeah, so for my major, it wasn't necessarily required, but you had the option there. But so background, political science, right? So we had some people who wanted to go to law school. So like the law professor was like, all right, I have some internships you can do like judges or a law firm over the summer. Some other folks, like myself, I went to Capitol Hill for some of the Congressman Norton, who's DC's representative. And even if it's not necessarily required in your major, they are definitely talk to your professors because you never know who they might know, who they might have gone to school with, who has a firm or something that you're interested in going where you can do an internship for a summer, or if you get really lucky, you might be able to do an internship through the whole semester, possibly get paid, depends on the internships. So definitely, research that. Don't hesitate to, even if it's something that's super short, it's like a couple of weeks, still try it. It's good on your resume. You still get that experience.
One more question while we're talking about internships and majors, and then I'm going to take questions from the audience. Did your major help you in the job that you're in now?
That's a good question, Kamar. I got into an argument with somebody because they told me that they weren't sending their kids to HBCU because they were going to be able to get a job. I said I hire people like their kids, and I went to HBCU. So I think people have different views on it. I don't think it's the school's sole responsibility. The onus is on you. You take control of your destiny. It's not the school's responsibility to give you this job making 6 figures. That is your responsibility. That's your dream. That's your passion. they required us to have an internship. They also found the internship for us, and we had to interview for it. So I think that kind of gave me a leg up, and so from there, I just had, kept getting internships. But my professor, he was really instrumental in me getting involved with politics, with meeting people, really understanding equity, and really being able to transition my passion for protesting into the corporate environment. So I don't think I would be where I am. I know I won't be where I am without Virginia State University as well as the sorority, because the sorority also got me in interviews and things of that nature.
For me, I went to school, majored in film, thought I was going to be a producer, got out of school, never got a job in communication. So I definitely went through the first couple of years of like, what happened? Like, I know what I wanted to do. This is what I majored in. I'm good at this, but why am I not doing this? Fast forward to a lot of years later, because I'm older now. I am in a career that is, first of all, aligned with the social group that I started at in undergrad. And now, because I'm a leader in the space, I get to bring my film background into what I'm doing. Okay, so I do DE&I work, and there are a lot of layers in that space. But facilitation is really big in DE&I. And so I'm able to utilize my communication skills, put together videos. I'll write a whole script, we'll shoot it, have a production team at the company. I go to them, they'll put it together, but I get to produce it. So I am still using my major, even though my career is not directly aligned with it. So I say that to say, you may go in for math and then get out and find yourself working at Family Dollar, and you're like, what in the world, how did I get here? But if you stay at Family Dollar and become a manager, you can then go to corporate and work in the accounting department, and now you're back full circle. So just understand this all a part of the process, and it'll come back around. Well, at least for me it did, if you're focused on it.
So to kind of dial it back up to discuss like the internship, I graduated with my master's in occupational therapy, and one of the requirements in the application process was 30 observation hours. So through that, I had to go to like different hospitals. I had to do the due diligence and communicate and reach out to the hospitals and facilities that I wanted, to complete my 30 hours. Once I was able to do that, then you have to go the whole, interview and essays and all that whole gamut. But when it came to the actual program, we also had to do they're called field works, 2 field work assignments. The first one was like 3 weeks, and the second one was 12. And you basically, you practice as an occupational therapist. So you were there with the occupational therapist, there with the physical therapist, talking to the doctor, talking to the nurses, the PAs, all that. So you are really immerse yourself in the experience. I was able enough and gracious enough to be able to go to a neuro-based hospital out in Austin, Texas, I'm sorry. And that was a pretty awesome opportunity because I feel like it prepared me a lot for what I do now. Because you got to work specifically with like stroke patients and TBI patients, you name it, and even to like small like orthopedic things like a shoulder injury, something like that. So I feel like having those opportunities, though it can be challenging at times, it goes a very long way. So I'm very grateful for those experiences because now through that, I feel like that hands-on experience 100% like pushed me to go out there and love what I do.
I would also say too, with every internship, try to just get more reference from that. So those help out a lot because when you're trying for a regular job, and say, hey, you're contacting this role or someone you can talk to verify, your experiences and your background. So try to network as much as you can. You don't have to be buddy with everybody in the office, especially as an intern. Sometimes depending on the dynamic in the office, not everyone is as cool as you think. But try to find that one person, build that relationship, keep in contact with them, email, phone, whatever, LinkedIn or something like that, and say, hey, I'm in contact role right now. They kind of use this reference.
Are you working in the field that did your major help you with the job that you have now?
I want to emphasize, yes, internships is very, very important because those will help prepare you for the job. Things you're going to learn in the classroom are really going to be textbook. So what they said is just going to help emphasize what you learned in the textbooks. Because a lot of your professors are going to be professors who have never worked a day in their life in the field. And then when you go into your internship, you're like, whoa, why didn't you teach me that? That's why it's important to help contextualize what you're learning in the textbooks. Does that make sense?
Does anyone have any questions?
So,
Go ahead, Demi, and then Anasha.
So during college,
You have to stand up, 'cause I can't really hear you. And I hope everything will help you with this.
okay, so when it comes to tuitions and stuff, when's it best to start paying like student loans if you are taking it out?
I think that we'll already have a different answer for that, and I think that that's gonna be based off of your lived experience at that time. It's not something that I would say you should worry about while you're in school, okay? So don't go get your job at, Foot Locker, get that money and do what you need to do with it at that time while you're in school. But, I think earlier when I mentioned it, what I was mentioning is when you get out of school, once you do secure your first full-time job, especially most of the time when we get back home, we're back home. Like, you graduate from college, you go back to your parents' house or wherever you are, wherever you've come from. If you are in that position where you're not having to pay rent and things like that, and you do have a job, I would recommend trying to get ahead of it as soon as possible. And the reason why I say that is a lot of, some loan companies will allow you to tell them what you can afford to pay. And you wanna do that first before you find yourself in the backed up situation where they're telling you, you have to pay me this. Because if you can only afford $99 a month, you wanna tell them that before you get to the point where they're telling you, you have to pay me $350 a month. Because if you're already out on your own, now you have to find another stream of income. And you don't wanna do that so young. You wanna take the time and enjoy life and enjoy what you've done and start your new career. So I would say as soon as you can, when you get out of school, when you are financially able to do so.
And you also, we working with the students, and you also stress to them, loans aren't bad. Loans are bad when you don't pay those people back their money. That part.
Listen,
That's the part.
Yeah, I have no problem with saying this because it's above me now. But I got out of school, you all, and I came from a great family. When I need money, I call, they send me the money. I don't know why I did this, okay? But I got out of school, I was so spoiled probably, and really was not ready for everything that I thought I wanted. So I thought my parents were paying my car bill, they were paying my cell phone bill, they were buying me groceries. And I got out of school and I realized once I moved to my own, I had to do all of that by myself. So when the student loans messages were coming in, I was ignoring them. I felt like I got the degree already, what are they gonna do, right? And in my mind, I thought I couldn't really afford it. I did not pay my student loans for almost 2 years post-undergrad, you all. And when I finally got a good paying job, they took my money out of my check. I mean, half of my check. And I was living in an apartment with my sister. I had to have my parents help me pay rent for a year. I mean, it was horrible. So, yes, you need to be prepared to pay it back. Don't put it on the back burner thinking that it's going to disappear and that they can't do anything to you. Because when you get a job, you have to put your social security number there. If you get any kind of, FAFSA and all of those loans, they know who you are, they know where you are, and they will find you. They called my job and had someone transfer a phone call to me, and I'm like, hi Danielle, Enterprise Rental Car. And it was somebody saying, yeah, we've already called the HR, we've already rerouted your money, and every check we're gonna take out almost $400. And I was only getting $900 on that check. So.
That's scary when you get the loan.
Yeah, so again, but it was because I decided to lollygag and not be intentional and not pay attention to what I needed to do. So I stress that from lived experience, it's not just a thought. I went through that. It took me a while to get back on my feet in the way that I wanted to get, and I would never, ever want anyone to do that again. So it's not scary to take the loan, it's scary to not pay them back, for sure.
And I know that I'm not on the panel, y'all not talking like, hey y'all. I do not want y'all to get scared. I know y'all hear loans and they taking a check and it was a whirlwind. Y'all, it's not always like that. Y'all live in DC. That's why we tell you, do financial aid, do your DC tag, do the scholarships we give you. I'm not in debt. So everybody's story ain't that.
Yes.
Okay?
Not at all.
I want to say that because I know we have some underclassmen in here. I know we have a lot of different situations. So that's why we're always on you about the scholarships, about DC tag because you live in DC, about the full Pell Grant. It's super important for y'all to do those things because you don't have to be in a lot of debt.
Yeah, and
loans are not bad,
yeah.
But a lot of y'all, you don't have to have that problem. So don't get scared like I can't go to school because they all said we're gonna be in all this debt. That doesn't always happen, but what we're saying is it can be a healthy balance.
You're absolutely right, and I used to actually, I'm from Maryland, everybody, I'm not a DC person, resident, never have been. And I always used to actually be upset with friends of mine who went to school who lost the support because I found out from meeting people from DC, y'all going to school for free.
Yeah,
Y'all going to school for free. And would still, some people would still not take advantage and flunk out of class, right? And then what? You can't come back the next semester. And it used to anger me so much because I didn't have to worry about it. So you made a very good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. My situation is definitely a little different. I had no choice but to, get my parents to sign up on those loans. But if I could have my parents go back and have me in DC, absolutely.
I remember what my wife said. Go to the place that's offering you the most money. I'm telling you guys, it's going to pay off. And I mean, pick which one you want to go to and narrow it down and choose the one that you want. But if this college over here is telling you that it's going to cost you $60,000, multiply that by 4, multiply that by 5. Are you comfortable with that number? It's up to you all. But if these people over here say we'll give you a partial scholarship and you only have to pay $4,000 a year, multiply that by 4. You guys are smart. Just make a smart decision.
And also, like, to dig back on what you were saying, like, once you use those additional resources, I don't live in DC either, so I don't know all the resources that are available. But once you use those resources, look at what's left over and take what you need. You don't have to take it all. And so I've seen and I've heard stories about people taking the unsubsidized and the subsidized, not understanding that the unsubsidized loan is interest is accruing from day one. The subsidized loan, if it's $1,000, it's going to be $1,000 until 4 years later until you graduate, right? So for that unsubsidized loan, if you don't need it, go ahead and decline it if you're going to use these other resources. But you can still take that subsidized loan that does not have any interest accruing if you need it, right? If you need it. And then you can use that to get you through this academic year, for the school. So just understand what you're reading, understand the constituents behind it all, and take what you need. You don't have to take it all. Okay.
And ask questions. Because if you don't know what unsubsidized and subsidized mean, don't just sign a line. Like, ask.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to give you everything that you don't know until you ask.
And on the scholarships, apply. Like, I'm pretty sure they're giving you like all these sort of stuff. But literally, there is scholarships for literally anything. Like, there was one scholarship for being a freaking, having a single mother. Like, there's literally scholarships for any and everything out there. So make sure y'all just look, all right, and apply. Do not forget that. That's what it's.
Yeah, and one more thing, just because I want to keep the fear down. Phil mentioned, the money will come. I do want to let you know the end of that story for me is I have only $2,000 left to pay on my student loans. So it's almost 20 years later. So you can get back. I just don't know what to do with the hard work, right? So let's just get on top of it. And I just closed on the house this summer as well. So you can still get back and keep moving forward because the money will come.
The hard work is right now, guys, in high school. This is what's going to make or break you on how much you're going to spend in college. So while you guys may be falling asleep in class and not taking advice from your counselors and your teachers, they're telling you exactly what to do right now. You guys have a roadmap from all the leaders in the school that will lead you down to the right path. And if you put this hard work in now and get these A's, you will go to school for free. Period. You will get out and you will get a job because you already know how to get A's. They will hire you. Life is very simple. Follow your leaders. That's it. Life will be simple for you too.
Anaja?
My question was, like, did it ever feel hard to, like, in college to the point where you wanted to, like, drop out and then
And I just wanted to make this point of reference. I was very intentional about the panelists that I contacted and chose. I wanted a wide array, different people, various people and of ages. And Thais, who just spoke with you, he is the youngest panelist. Like, he just graduated from college. So, like, cause y'all think that we old and don't know anything and everything's over. But listen, like, because things don't change, right? He's one of my former students, so he is your generation. So, like, I wanted to make that point to, like, he's not old and ancient like me.
I appreciate the question a lot. I'm glad that you asked it, because people don't kind of talk about those things and kind of hold it inside, but just know that someone else is also dealing with that. And I think in life, you know, you have to have this grit and have this capability to handle adversity, because whether it's high school, prom, college, whatever, corporate America, it's always going to be there. But how we handle it is really going to determine, you know, how we feel. And I think when I get into those moments, I have to remember that I have a village, and it ain't that bad. So maybe there's a counselor you can talk to, or a professor, or even your best friend, or whoever that needs to look like, so that you can help navigate it, but just don't hold it inside, right? Don't hold it inside. And also don't compare, because that's the thief of joy, and people will have things looking one way, and it's not that way. So just know that you're not alone. I guarantee somebody else is maybe going through the same thing, but just how you navigate in that adversity is going to help you conquer it, right? You're going to feel like dropping out. You're going to feel like, what am I going to do? Go to the financial aid office, go to the dean, go to whoever. I guarantee they're going to work it out. They're going to help you. They're going to figure it out. The counselors here, because they've seen it before. We all go through it. So just know you're never alone. No matter what you think it may be, somebody else has been through it, and there is a village that will help you do it.
The only time in life that you fail is when you give up, when you stop trying. When you start feeling sorry for yourself, that's when failure happens. That's when that thing starts to seep in and starts to eat at you. The depression starts to come in, and you just can't get out of this hole. You can get out of it based on what Nisi just said. You can do it. So don't ever think that it's over, because there's always a way out.
And you're never gonna get it right the first time. You know, this is a learning experience, right? So, you know, I know you might have some folks in here who are overachievers, right? You might get to that, you know, get to class, like, all right, I wrote the best paper in the world, and I got the content down, and then you get the paper back, and the professor marked it all up, and it's like, this is even my major. Like, no, you see what you did wrong, what you can improve on, learn from it, come back and try it. This is, you know, that's just life.
And you can nail it. When I go back in my college years, I think about that tough project or that tough class that I had. Now that I'm an adult, like, I remember the most from those experiences, and I'm actually glad that I stuck through them. And as you continue to progress in your career, things are going to change. So now, like, you will eventually get to a position where you might be a department head or managing a team or manager, where you get to kind of set the environment to work or operate and move that you will. And a lot of those, I guess, methods that you put in place, you will realize that they come from those tough experiences.
Yeah. And a quick, like, personal story. So, like, this is one. So back in 2018, literally going into the first day before grad school started, I was driving in the car, my brother and sister had a seizure. Never had a seizure ever before in my life. Literally, brother and sisters in my car, like, just pulled up to the campus, mom, dad, trailing behind. So literally, when that happened, I lost it. Like, I never went through anything like that. I thought I was invincible, like, me and blood, close, you know, never done anything like that. So going into grad school, my mind was just running right there. I didn't know what to do because they didn't know the cause of them. It was still thinking about it to this day, like, still kind of shit. But I can say that one thing that really pushed me through this was, for one, having that faith, having that conversation with my parents, and honestly, talk to God, honestly, like, listen to people like T.D. Jakes, freaking Denzel Washington, like, those people, I tell you, like, anytime I was feeling low, watching those videos on YouTube, like, Martin Luther King, like, all of that, oh my goodness, just keep going. And I love motivational quotes. So one quote that always, like, sticks with me to this day, I believe it was during Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. It was like, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. No matter what, whatever you do, just keep going. Because, I mean, that's just the thing that I just keep going in my head, even through life. You know, I'm 25, but sometimes I feel like I'm 45. But I just say that to say that life is gonna happen. Things are gonna hit you. I mean, life's gonna hit you hard. But it's important to think about your goals for your future. What do you see in your life? And just when life does get hard, talk to someone. You can't talk to your parents about it. Talk to your counselor. You feel like you can't talk to them about it. Talk to a friend. I just want you to realize that you are never, ever alone. Someone who has dealt with depression, I can honestly tell you that. There is always someone that's gonna listen to someone that you can go to for advice. Or just to vent. Like you have it, you know? You might not feel like you do, but I promise. You're not alone through this. People are going through it, some people have gone through it worse, but just remember that you are not alone. You got it.
Can I, one more thing to your question real quick, I don't think, but we kind of got personal, but just want to be specific about this for all of you all. Everyone here just kind of hit on the academic part of it that will stress you out and can make you feel less than and get you to the place of like, I don't know if I should do this. But here's another part that we don't talk about that really happens is your friendships and relationships. Those are also things that you do not need to allow to infiltrate what your plan is for your career. What I mean by that is I've been in college and experienced this myself and watched other people leave school because their best friend left the school, leave school because their boyfriend couldn't get back in the next semester. I mean, you're devastated, right? We don't even talk to these people anymore, okay? Because you're young. And so I say this because when you get into corporate America, I don't care who's in your orientation class on your first day of work, you are hired as an individual person. We can go to lunch every day. If you mess up at work, you get fired. Okay, so don't get connected to people and feel like, oh, we all made a pact and we're gonna go to Morgan State and two of them got kicked out and then you're gonna leave and go derail all the great things you have going on because your friends left or your boyfriend or your girlfriend left or couldn't get back. You have to focus on yourself. I know it doesn't feel fair if you wanna have this camaraderie, but you are your own individual person. You get a job that way, you lose a job that way. You get enrolled in school that way, you get kicked out of school that way. So don't let those relationships impact what you have planned for yourself.
That's good. Jew?
Hi again. So with majoring is probably like one of my biggest difficulties right now when it comes to going to college. I know out of the major what I probably want to do or what field I probably want to be involved in, but I just want to know, do you guys have any advice on choosing a major or deciding about majors?
I'm the worst person to ask because I knew I wanted to do this in high school, but it's like innate, right? It's something I've always been passionate about, or whether it be news articles and things like that. So I would ask you to think about what you're innately passionate about and choose that path, if that makes sense. Because I've always watched the news, even at like 10 years old. I've always read the newspaper, so that's the path that I took for me. But you can talk to Ms. Holmes. She majored in political science, and now she's a teacher. So,
yeah, and also too, like, it's fine if you go in the other side, like the freshman year, it's actually the perfect time for you to go to the different departments and get an idea, take those different classes, you be like intro classes, something you might be interested in, and say, okay, like, I took the class, got to get a feel for it, and take the next one and try it out. I would say definitely, for you don't want to make that decision too late, but don't want to be like, oh, this junior year, now I make the decision, because that depending on what the requirements for that major is, might end up staying a little longer than you want to, but definitely at your freshman and sophomore year is your time to experiment with that and really figure out what you're passionate about.
and maybe talk to some professionals, in the field. What do you want to do? What are you thinking about now?
Wow.
It doesn't have to be something you want to do in 5 years, right now.
Well, I know right now I want to either get into the fashion or music or continue to do music and both fashion. But the reason why I'm so confused between the two majors is because I don't know if I want to go into a
right? And then when they graduate, that's what their degree is in, both of those things. You understand? So you can, depending on what the schools offer, right? So I know, again, not trying to plug the thing, but I know we have a fashion program and we have a music program, right? So that could be somewhere you may want to consider that has a big, that you may want to consider. I'm just saying because we have both the majors. Every school may not have both the majors, so that could, you might end up making a choice if you go to a school that has one or the other. But if they have two, I would look into minoring in one.
And you also, I was a double major, so you can also choose to major in both of them if you don't know what you want to do. My double major is in mathematics and dance, so like you could do fashion and music, and some of the classes can start to overlap. So it's not like you have to do double the amount of classes. You can figure out what classes you can take that will actually go towards both of the majors. So you don't necessarily have to do a major if you like. Hey, I don't want music to feel like it's less than. You could do a double major as well. So that's another route that you can also do.
Or you can do business.
And do it all.
And then the fashion, you just learn it on your own, and you learn the graphic design on your own. Like, you can run a business now.
Yeah.
And do all of that if you want to.
And think about the different clubs and things we talked about. They have choirs on campus where you don't have to actually major, you can still do it as a passion. You can join the choir as a musician or something like that on campus. It doesn't have to be a major.
The one thing I would add is how you feel is normal. I don't know what I wanted to do. You don't have to take this route, but what I did do was I literally looked at the curriculum for the 2 hours debate between. I hate math. I was taking the road that I had the least amount of math.
Yes.
In my job today, every day I talk about math. It's crazy. So I literally lined up the curriculum. So if you're torn between two, again, just doing your research, fact finding, and understanding what would be the expectations if I do a double major, if I do a major and then a minor, right? Understand, again, get that mindset, right? Because it's a game. Get that mindset, but keep in mind those internships and how you leverage those summers are going to be so valuable for you. It'll be wonderful, Javon, if you can connect them with somebody in the industry that can give some guidance and some mentorship. I hate to say it this way, sometimes things we major in is on paper, but that real life experience is incomparable, right? So just think of it that way as well in terms of if it's going to be too much of a heavy load on you. For me, I didn't want a heavy load. I just didn't, right? That's that.
No, that's not it.
Yeah, so just think about it. Like you have something that you can research on your own and help you kind of figure out which way you want to go.
I'll piggyback because I like the way you said study the curriculum, right? Because I thought about a story when Bill and he was talking. So this is random, but my dentist told me that he has his undergrad degree in sociology, and I was trying to get to that. Well, how did you get to dental school? So he hustled his way through because all of the electives that he took, he researched what requirements were needed to get to dental school. Got his bachelor's in sociology, but chose all the electives like the chemistry, the organic chemistry, to get him into dental school. So he didn't have to do the whole 4 years of biology, 4 years of organic chemistry. He was a sociology degree, chose electives to get him into dental school, and when he graduated, he applied for dental school, and now he's a dentist. He cleans like he did. So that hustle mindset that you talk about, use it for fun and use it professionally as well. Hustle your way through it.
There's always
we all do it.
Yeah, and if you end up at a situation where you end up at a school just maybe by financial situations where they don't have both of your majors, let's say they have the fashion, you all have an advantage that, I don't know, some of us may be too big to come in this room if we had it when we were your age. But this technology that you all have and this TikTok and all this other stuff, you can be a singer.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like, if you find yourself in a situation where you can't go to school for both, if there's a way for you to use the technology that you all have out to get your name out there, you may even bypass going the full route of getting the education of music by just getting exposed and getting seen, right? So I just wanted to just go back to that because I know everybody wants to do dances and everything, but that technology that you all have can really put you on the map. And if you're able to go about it that way, you may save yourself some money and some extra studying in the process.
All right, I know we got questions. You got questions too? Okay, Lavelle, Grace, and Estrella, and okay, we're going this way. Go ahead.
Did you guys miss home when you went to college, and how often did you come home?
No.
Yeah. Well, I came home. I did my freshman year. I think I came home every other weekend. Now Virginia State, yeah, it was bad. really close to my grandparents. So like, yeah, it felt weird. And I actually picked Virginia State, not knowing it was HBCU. I just didn't. I wanted to go away, but not too far. I wanted to be able to run home if something crazy happened, but also feel like I'm away from my family. So I did miss it in freshman year. Every other weekend we went home. And it's also because I thought I couldn't let nobody do my nails there, and I couldn't let nobody do my eyebrows. Just felt like I had to go back and get it done there. And eventually the next year I moved on campus, and I didn't go home. I would not come home once I moved on campus. So.
Yeah, I was really impressed to get away from home. So from UC there my whole life, and my mom especially was she's like, this is an opportunity. I would support you wherever you go, to a college or something like that, but once you can get out there and experience, and I agree with her. And for those of you who don't know, I was in Atlanta, so not really too far, but it was far enough where I was like, okay, I can really come into my own. I can feel it for what I like. It was great. I was able to meet people. And it's funny enough, so actually one of our artists got a chapter to this DC for Morehouse, so it's like always a ton of students from DC coming down. So it's not like I was really far from home because I had people, came from the same areas as me. I had, friends I went to like middle school, came to Morehouse and stuff like that. So, I would say, definitely if you have the opportunity to go somewhere else, like what he said, still go somewhere where they give you most money. But if it's outside the DMV area, definitely get the experience. Because DC can be a bubble for a lot of people. It's best to try new things.
So I definitely miss my mom. So she did come up. I was only about an hour away. So she would come up on a Sunday. We would go to the movies, get something to eat, and that was lovely. But I will say that when you go to campus and you are joining those organizations, you're putting yourself out there. You are creating a home away from home. So then it made me being home a lot easier. And when my mom was picking me up for breaks, I'm like, I don't want to go. I ain't ready to leave. So like if you create that home away from home, it will be like your home whether you're home or whether you're at school. So really put yourself out there and get involved so that you can create that home away from home.
I was glad I got home. My parents didn't want to so they say go make some friends though, and go join some organizations. And once I started joining that, I didn't have to leave to rush home every single weekend and do stuff like that. I didn't need to anymore because I just became self-sufficient as much as possible, but self-sufficient on that campus, in that town of kids, of young adults. It's a town of young adults like you guys. So my parents, it was like, hard knock kind of lesson that I had to learn not to come home, but paid off. Still miss it.
Greg?
Always miss it.
That was basically my question.
Oh, you had the same question?
I was like asking how many schools did y'all apply to? Like, was these y'all top schools? How did y'all
That's
get
not the
in?
same question.
I didn't really.
She's supposed to know how many schools would we apply to before we.
And was the school that you chose, was that your top choice?
So, I applied to quite a few, like a lot of the kind of stuff. I did want to go away from home. My family has lived everywhere. I've lived in Texas, Georgia, you name it, I lived there. So when it came to college, I wanted to get as far away as possible. So I really wanted to go to Hampton. I don't know what it was, but I love Hampton University. Obviously I can go there, but like I really wanted to go there. But I think a huge reason for me and my decision was going to the place that gave me the most money. To be honest, I run on a track scholarship, but I also got a scholarship for my program. So I think for me that was a big basis for my decision, and that on top of just looking at the pros and cons. To be honest, for my decision.
I would say for me it was kind of like bittersweet, but I think we have a plan in mind and God has a bigger plan. So I wanted to go to Spelman. I wasn't looking at anybody else. I wasn't interested, and I actually missed the deadline. And so when your counselor was stressing the importance of like the application deadline, you gotta have it in by the deadline. And I missed the deadline. My mom called. It was like no exceptions. It was a highly competitive process. So I missed the deadline, and
got applied to the program to that part of your question also.
So I'm the person that, my friends will tell you, I planned for the back, and I was a first generation college student, so I was like, even though I had the grades and the SAT score, I was more so like, what if I don't get in? So I applied to 9, and I got into them all, and so I did choose my first choice.
My parents applied to every school for me. I didn't really have a choice as much. I did want to apply to Virginia State because I saw the brochure and I liked that the fountain picture had a different, every person on there was represented a different demographic. So I liked that it was variety in that. But I got into Frostburg, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Bowie State as well. But I wanted to go far away. And Frostburg, absolutely not. I just couldn't do it. I just felt like it wasn't. It was far. I felt like it was cold. It just
Frost.
Yeah, frost.
Keep in mind the frost.
Here we go.
Yeah, question.
Well, I know a lot of people in this room at some point or right now are feeling a lot of pressure. I know at some point you guys might have felt a lot of pressure during high school, college, but like I'm like the youngest in my family and I come from immigrant parents and I also be first generation. So like my question was like, how did you guys cope with such pressure, like in your individual ways of pressure, like traditional pressure? Like how did you cope with like, how did you push through that pressure, that state of mind where you're like, oh my God, like this is up to me and I have to graduate.
Good question. I was so anxious just about that. I was my mom's first kid to graduate college. Tiana graduated 1 semester behind me. And it was so much pressure. And I had a lot of anxiety. And the way that I navigated it was I went to the on-campus counselor. I also had a network of friends we were all in the same boat. We were all first gen. And we talked about it. And one time I called my mom and dad and I told them, I said, it is so much pressure being your first kid to graduate from college. Please leave me alone. They didn't take it well the first time, but then they actually saw, like, yeah, I was anxious all the time. I'm only trying to do my schoolwork. So I had to actually speak up about it and then use the resources I had and make sure I picked a network of friends who we can talk about it. We were all in the same boat. We were in it together to achieve my goal. Because it wasn't what my parents wanted, it was what I needed for me to succeed in what I wanted to do. So think about, yes, you're from a family who has a lot of pressure on you, but think about what you want to do for yourself first. Because that's who matters. You know, that's who's actually in the classroom doing all the schoolwork. That's who's going to be working after college. Think about you and what you want. And then all the other people just white noise in that.
Yeah, I would say for me, find your person. And when I say find your person, I felt the same pressure as well because I was the oldest in my family and leaving my 2 younger sisters. But my uncle, my mother's youngest brother, he's only like 13 years older than me, so he's real cool. He's in that age of like, take me with you, right? And so we were always super close before I went away. And I realized when I got to college, I thought the person that I should give a call was my parents, but a lot of times they put more pressure on it. Like my mother would call me at certain times and I'd still be in the bed and she, were you up partying? I'm like, no, I have class till 12, relax. Like, why are you doing this, right? But my uncle was like the adult who also understood me, right? And like let me be a person that didn't have it all together. And so I would call him all the time. And I could even talk about, and your sister, my mother, right? I could have that conversation with him. And he would keep it real with me and be honest with me. He had went to college as well, flunked out his freshman year, then went back, so like he had some bad experiences, so we got to share in that space together. Also, when I would sneak home and didn't want to go home, I go home. So I recommend finding a person. For me, it was a family member. It could be one of your mom's friends. I don't know who that person is, but there's someone that you know that cares about you, and you can tell them anything. That would be the person I would say to just stay connected to.
I will also add, there's a little bit of research around like resilience in like first generation students. And so one thing that I had to teach myself was that because we're so resilient, we are always like telling ourselves, oh, this is hard, but I can get through this. This is hard, but I can get through this. And when you keep telling yourself that. It's a good trait to have, but sometimes you forget to simply ask for help. And so I had to train myself. It took time. It didn't happen overnight, but I had to train myself that it's okay to ask for help, even though I know that I can get through this. Why waste 6 hours a day, battling with myself, running these questions and thoughts in my mind when I can just simply ask for help. And that leads to my next point, which is, it was probably my sophomore year when I realized that professors' office hours are critical. My freshman year, I didn't use them. I was like, once again, I can do this, I can get through it. My grades were pretty good, but you'll realize that the professors, especially at larger schools, like you have 100 people in the classroom, sometimes we in the lecture hall. But just going to that professor's office hours, he or she will remember your name. He or she will know that you're trying. And I cannot lie, I've gotten a couple of B's, bumped to A's, simply because I took the extra step to go to that office hour. So just take advantage of all the resources. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's your money. You're paying for it.
Go ahead.
Are you going to make a point?
Nah, yeah, I was going to just say, because office hours is a term that they know. Could you just express how important? Yeah, no, I'm saying express to them how important office hours are. So that's something they know about. We have office hours here.
All the time. Guess what? That professor had my first job out of college. The very first job.
And just because they're applying pressure on you, you don't have to internalize it and keep it. You know your headphones, your AirPods and stuff, you have that transparency thing. Don't allow it to affect you. You know what you're capable of. You know that you're destined for greatness. Don't allow it to break it down. Let it pass through you. Listen to them. I hear you. Okay. And keep it moving. You know you're going to succeed. Just do it. And allow it to pass through. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody have any more questions?
I just got one last question, but it's off topic though. Oh no, I'm talking off topic. I just want to know how many parties y'all went to.
And I still go back and party. Hello.
But just be careful about the part. Like, if you don't really have like your sororities or
You write distance from your classes and everything like that. And for me especially, when I first got in, I was pretty good in the social aspect, but when it came to the academic thing, what you have to understand is that each professor is different, right? So you might have some professors who a little more laid back, you can work around that paper that you didn't do too well on, or they might let you come back and retake that test that you didn't do too well on. But you have other professors who are super strict, who are like, but once my door closes, you do not come in, those types of folks. So just be cognizant of that. Once you start building a system for yourself and taking accountability, improving when you can improve, it'll be better, right? Because at the end of the day, at this point, when you're in college, you're an adult. You don't have your parents everywhere helping you out and everything. It doesn't just apply to the classroom, it applies to how you spending your money. You can go party, but is it good to party? You got this test one day and all this other stuff like that. So
and deadlines. The syllabus.
Yes.
Break that down.
Oh yeah, for the syllabus too. And you'll hear this a lot from professors who say that the syllabus is not a contract. It's debatable depending on the professor once again, but always what I like to do. So we all have phones on system. So what I like to do is I'll put my test dates in my calendar and have reminders set, and I'll have a study day set up and stuff like that. For me too, at least for Morehouse, where we share a library with Stone and Clark Miami. So what they would do for midterms and finals, the library would be open 24 hours. So while we do ahead of time, try to get a nice private home with me and my friends, studying and stuff like that. So definitely pay attention to those dates too. Because I know people who I had a class with hit me like, oh, sorry, we're going to take the midterm. Like, it already happened. Like, you missed it. Like, what? Like, why are you not paying attention to your calendar? Like, so make sure you always have that ready.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off the time management and things like that with the professors, I think in high school, you all as students eventually start to understand the lay of the land and like what a teacher can do and what they can't do, right? You have these things like, oh, teacher can't say that to me, or they can't do that. It's not like that in college. So you can have a teacher, you can have 3 classes in one day. You can have one teacher that has no nonsense rules on being late. They can also enforce the dress code and get you out in that way as well, right? Because I know the younger generation, y'all wear a lot of, y'all show a lot, and that's cool. But in college, you're gonna have teachers who are gonna not want you to come in with your midriff showing. I had a teacher who would send you out of class if a little piece between your belly button and your shirt was up. He would stop the whole class and ask you to leave. Okay, so if you are not paying attention. Bonds, all that. You have some teachers that won't, like you mentioned, you have some teachers who won't care. They'll let you come in and do what you want. But if you have another class an hour later and there's no nonsense, you have to change. So you need to pick an outfit that's going to go through all of the classes so you don't get in trouble. I know a student, a friend from school, who graduated an entire semester later, you all, for one class, and the teacher failed them because they kept coming to class late, and they only gave 1 minute to be late. And I mean, in the room, door closed. So, and when the person had to go back to school the next semester, do you know the teacher didn't even make them do any work? They just made them come to class every day on time because they had already did the work and got the work done. I know it sounds crazy, but it legit happened. So teachers in college can make their own rules to a certain degree as long as they're not violating any policy. So showing up on time and looking like you're in school and dressing appropriately will help as well.
All right, so it's time. They have class. I am sending out a slot. Thank you all so much for attending.